But you know what? I just love to go one like international break or qualifying round without hearing the words Italia 90 or Jack's Army or Euro 88. I mean, dear God, like get the fuck over it, man.
It's been like 30 years.
And like whatever about mention, like how great it was, but like mention that as like a reference point to how we should play, like 30 years ago. Like we think of like some countries didn't exist that we play against back
That beat
then.
us. Luxembourg probably didn't.
Well, I think Luxembourg did, but like like Latvia and all the Yugoslavian countries that didn't break up until the 90s as well. Like I mean, Serbia didn't exist. I'm pretty sure they were Yugoslavia, were they not? You know what I mean? And we're still talking about like oh, it's shocking because you know what it is like after the games, after the first Serbia game, I think they showed right after an RT part one of the boys in green about like I was like, oh man, like
Let it go.
you think of Shane Long, who's now past it, too old to start. He was born in '87. He doesn't remember us. I'm not saying that anybody could have won with those players, and I think like what Charlton did, bringing the English players over with the granny rule, like that. There is a great part in that. The second part of that documentary, The Boys in Green, where like they have like a compilation of like McAteer, John Aldridge, Cascarino, and they all detail the exact same thing of like. So I was coming into the players' lounge after the game, and in the corner, like shrouded in cigar smoke, was this 6'3" towering man, Jack Charlton, waiting for me to say, "Come play for Ireland." I was like, "That is savage!" Like,
yeah, you would
like,
definitely. You'd be in.
You just come in, you see Don Draper there waiting to, you know what I mean, selling you on Irish football. It's like,
no, honestly, that is nonsense. Nonsense. All nonsense. But listen, I've been on that road before.
Nonsense. Talking nonsense. Why should we accept somebody talking nonsense? Like, what would you say? Just why are you talking nonsense about us? Why are you talking rubbish?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a No Nonsense podcast with Cathal and Will. We're here with a special international friendlies / qualifier episode. We are going to look over all the Irish games. We've waited for the dust to settle on all the three Irish games we played. We want to come in too hot after the first game because we would have been very optimistic, and then the second game we would have thought what's the point of doing a podcast anymore? Yeah. And then the third game was kind of more, I don't know, it's hard to say what.
Well, now it's comedy. Yeah, now it's too far gone. So now it's like, well, that's funny now.
Yeah, so we've looked over all those games. We're also going to touch on a few other things that happened in the international break and maybe a few other news stories as well. But primarily focusing on the Irish games. It's hard to... Because, like I say, we waited for all the three games to be played, but that Serbia game, like that, I guess, was the good one. Was this the first one?
That was for the first half of that. It really felt like this is it. It's happening. We're going to fucking Qatar, maybe. And
that first goal was good. Like the Alan Brown goal, like that was like it was from that left side. It was it was a good goal. I was like, I'm in on Kenny Ball. I'm all in on Kenny Ball. But we're here. We're going to World Cup. Like, this is a really good goal. Like, it shows how bad we've been. Obviously, the last few games that he played, still hasn't got a win. But previous to that, towards the end of the Martin O'Neill era as well, it was kind of Jesus. Like, are we ever going to play well? So he scored that goal. It was like, this is what he meant. Now I get it. This is the style of play we're going to play. We're going to take on teams that are better than us. We're going to beat them on just craft and guile.
And Eye of the Tiger, pure zip and pen.
And then a little bit of skill, a little bit of talent there as well. Obviously they equalized before half time. Was they equalized? So I think it was 1-1 at half time, which is always a killer because you feel like you've lost the half and they feel like they've won because we've lost the lead in a way and they've gained a draw and they're gonna go into the second half 0-0 again and we're better than them. We're going to win
it. There's a famous thing from Football Manager where you have to give team talks obviously throughout the games, and there's one that everyone uses. It's post-match interviews, and when you're asked like, did the goal before halftime change anything? And everyone says the same thing of Well, it just certainly changed my halftime team talk. So I'm sure Stephen Kenny thought that. Like, because you have a whole plan. You've gone like 40 minutes and you're like, going to tell them to do this, and then we're good. And then that happens and you're like, oh, fuck, I have to change everything immediately.
Yeah. I mean, it's a cliche for a reason, I suppose. It does kind of change things. But even still, though, it was like 1-1 and on paper, like a better Serbia team. Like Tadic was out there playing like a young Wes.
Yeah.
He was playmaking, he was creating things. It was like, we don't have anybody as good as him. And like, he's played for Southampton for years, obviously now playing with Ajax, really good player for them. Like, he's a really, really good professional footballer. So the fact that we had kind of kept him to 1 goal in the first half, it's like, well, maybe the doubts will still be there for them that we can go on and win this. Obviously, it all depends on the team talk. But then they come out. When did they score in the second? I was like, was it 60 minutes that they scored? Was Mitrovic's?
It didn't fit. I don't think it was too long into it. Yeah,
it was a good goal by
savage goal.
The much maligned Mitrovic.
Yeah. What did you think of Mark Travers in goal for that?
Yeah, well, that's without getting too into excuses or details because people don't like to hear that. But I mean, very unlucky with goalkeepers. I mean, to be left with 2 19-year-old goalkeepers making their debuts, like Travers. He nearly got done the first half. Tadic had a corner and he whipped it in and nearly went in and he like ran across and collided with the post. I was like, oh, like that's not the kind of confidence
Calm down, bro.
You want to instill in your centre backs. That you just look back and see your goalie flying across your view, clattering in the post because fuck, I didn't know I was going there. No, it's like, yeah, well, maybe you should have your ankles better worked out, Travers. But yeah, I mean, obviously the second goal is like, it's one of those ones like, could he have done better there, the goalie? Could he have?
Because at first you're like, oh, he was getting chipped from there. And then you see the replay and he's like, oh, like if there was 10 goalies in, it seemed like they all would have gotten chipped from there. It was unbelievable. It was the perfect shot. Like,
it's one of the things that's like there's a space where if you get chipped from the halfway line, no one blames the goalkeeper, even when it is usually their fault.
Yeah,
because the closer you get when you get chipped, it's kind of like, okay, this is increasingly becoming your fault here because you shouldn't be chipped that close in. He was on the edge of the box, getting chipped.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, that's a tough look as a goalie. I mean, you should really know you are. He's in the danger zone. Like, you're now way too far off the line to be, unless you're coming for the ball. Like, he was standing still.
Obviously, the shot was so good that I don't think it would have mattered where he was.
Yeah.
But Mitrovic isn't going to attempt it if he's not fucking miles out. Like, so.
Yeah, this is a player who didn't start. He's there. He was, I think, at that point, he was 1 goal off the record goal score. He's not been playing for Fulham, like, unless he's just a maniac. Like, his confidence has to have been a little bit low. So for him to see that opportunity and think, all right, well, I have to chip this. Like, that's a confidence player's chip. And he was like, not confident, not playing. So that's, if you want to go on that, you say, well, he must be really showing him that goal to get that chip in. Because it's like, fuck, it takes a brave man to, like, you're on the edge of the box and you go, I'll just chip it from here. It's like, fuck, like, you want to make sure it goes in. And then at that point, it didn't look like we were gonna win it. They got the third goal.
It really felt like then you knew what was coming in the next few games. You're like, we're never going to win a game again. This is it for the next few years now.
Well, when Long came on, he was good. It was much like, tried to take the piss out from the last episodes. He came on, he created the second goal, made the assist for the second goal. Like, again, on Long, like, he's a great target man. Like, he is ridiculously athletic. He's unbelievably fast and has a great leap. He scored some good headers in his time. He can't finish his dinner. Like, he's a great player. Like, he is a fresh footballer for how many years by not having any ability, but his finishing is just, not good enough for him to start ahead of your man from Luton, Collins, was
it? Connolly, isn't it? Was that him?
Yeah, well, Connolly started against. He was definitely carrying that injury too. That was obviously one of the things as well, the penalty shout. I thought that was stonewall. Why is there no VAR in the World Cup? Well, a lot of people would be thinking, don't ruin a World Cup as well with VAR. So maybe just spare that too. But again, if you listen to this podcast, the telltale signs. He did it. Like, he did the textbook, both arms up, both knees buckled forward. Like, that's not how anybody naturally falls. Like, that is, you see that and you go, there was definitely a tackle there, contact. but it was the textbook dramatic fall. It's like you need to work on that dive, Connolly. You know, because like again, he didn't knock him over. He there was definitely contact. He didn't get the ball, but like you know, he did knock you over, but you went down easily, and the ref probably thought it's probably on the edge of that was kind of a dive. Not really sure. It wasn't like in the replays. Obviously, it's clear cut. There is no VAR, so I don't know about that one. But that aside, and the second goal kind of put a good kind of look on it for us. But Serbia are a better team. They have much better players. So, but nevertheless, it was an encouraging performance. It was like, well, this is good.
You wouldn't mind losing to Serbia. It's expected, to be honest. Like getting a result would have been savage.
Like that was obviously the one who was like, Portugal are the one seed. They're probably going to go through with the players they have. Serbia are 2 and we're 3. So Serbia was one like, we need to get an upset here. So even if we got a draw or win, it would have still been an upset and everyone would have known that. So the fact that we got 3-2 was like, well, look, we still have the return leg. We might get something there. We might get a win there. That might balance it out depending on how the results go. So it wasn't the end of the world. And it was like I say, it was Kenny ball. It was like, we're going to be attacking football. We're going to get goals. I guess people point out on Twitter, we scored as many goals in that game as we did in the entirety of Euro 88. So like this is the kind of thing that we're trying to change. Or like we're trying to get, more attacking football. So it's funny. Like after that game, it was like, oh, Luxembourg, perfect. Here comes a win.
Yeah. How could we possibly lose to Luxembourg?
Yeah. And this is the thing as well. I didn't fucking realize that Luxembourg had been actually trying in the last 10, 15 years. I thought they were just the worst version of us. Yeah. I thought they were like, we go have a go, but probably lose.
Did you see the football team's first ever TikTok post that they put up?
No.
Which was highlights of Irish players fucking up with like music playing over it. They're literally making fun of how bad the team was. Yeah.
What? Beforehand or afterwards?
Afterwards. Like clips from the game of players running into each other and stuff like that. Yeah.
That's outrageous.
That's how bad we are. Luxembourg were like, look at these fucking clowns.
Fuck me. Because I was watching on RTE and they were saying before, they said it maybe 3 or 4 times. Luxembourg, not the whipping boys that used to be, they've come on leaps and bounds because they had some good results in the Nations League, I think, last summer, which I'll be truthful, I didn't pay attention to.
Doesn't count.
Well, I mean, I guess it does when they bring that form against us. But like, that's the thing. It's like they had been working on it, and apparently they've been working this for the last 15 years. And in my research, I found out that their manager has been there since 2010.
Oh, that's a long time.
That's continuity, baby.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what you need, I suppose, in international football. Like, yeah.
If you want to grow, like, because like we were saying, as international manager, you have like specific windows where you can play with the team. Like, you're not week in, week out like a club manager. You're obviously not buying in players. So, like, to change a kind of a way of playing or to change players' opinions or attitudes, like, it take a lot longer than it would for a club manager. So 10 years is probably, like he's seen generations of players come and go through that team, like versus us, where Kenny is just in the job. You've just come from Mick McCarthy. You have loads of injuries, COVID things as well. Like totally opposite in terms of them. Like we're trying to create a style of play. They've been creating this style of play to the manager for the last how many years?
Yeah.
And look, when you look at it on paper, it's like, their players versus their players, their population versus our population. It looks bad. But I think maybe not most, but a lot of Irish fans or international fans are like, you think of a Man United fan or Liverpool fan who doesn't watch the games. And it's like, oh man, that United team are useless, man. They're fucking, It's like, well, what you mean? Oh, should the players, man. Like, there's not fucking, like Rooney and Ronaldo. They're the fucking players you want. There's no one like that anymore. And you're like, well, yeah, no, there isn't, I suppose. That's technically true. Like, they're all useless, man. And like, that's the extent of that kind of thing. Like, you want to be a United fan, but you don't follow the games. And international things like, yeah, I'm an Irish fan, but like, I don't fucking know who any of the players are.
It does seem to bring out a certain type of, like, even worse than I think club football, because it's players that they don't even watch in the few games that they would watch that they're then commenting on. Like, they see these players play like 4 times a year. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
your man, obviously the main people that people point to as the striker for Luxembourg. He plays for Dynamo Kiev. It's like, well, if he was playing for us, he'd probably get in our team. Because of the striker options we had. So it's like, people talking about how embarrassing this was, and this is the worst defeat, one of the worst defeats you ever had.
But like Dynamo Kiev are Are they not a Champions League team most years? Like,
yeah. Well, this is the thing. It's like they've done what we did. He's a Portugal-born player, playing for Luxembourg. That's what we used to do. Like that's So on paper, it's a bad defeat, but I mean, when you think about it, like we said, we've taken a step back. The dust has settled. When you look at all the surrounding factors like this, a result like this was coming.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's never good when it comes.
Yeah,
it's like when you're in college and you're like, geez, this semester's going awful quick. It's like every week you're told like it's the week 3 email, week 4 news, week 5 updates, and then the end of the semester comes like, fuck, do we have exams next week? Is it?
Oh,
that was a fast bloody semester, wasn't it? It's like you were told every week what week it was. Like, but that's the thing. We're like, how are we losing to Luxembourg? It's like, have you seen us recently? Have you seen us since fucking? You think of like Saipan. And when Roy Keane was giving out about the unprofessional setup, that's probably been coming since that time.
That's the first red flag when your best player is like, this isn't good enough. This is like, there's no professionalism here at all. And then everyone was like, fuck Roy Keane.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like, no one bigger than you're not bigger than Ireland, pal. Which, to an extent. But I mean, at the same stage, it's like, all since that time, like think of all the scandals of the FAI, think of all the criticism of the League of Ireland, think of all the and then we lose to Luxembourg, I guess 20 years later, and we're like, where did this come from? It's like, where do you think? From the things that happened, the things.
Bring back Mick McCarthy, quick.
Yeah. I don't know. It's obviously, like I say, it's never good, and Luxembourg are still a small country. But, a couple of years ago, we lost Iceland.
Yeah.
And just because we all accept that Iceland are good now, Iceland have less people than Luxembourg. They have like 200 or 300,000 people.
Yeah.
Like Luxembourg have twice as many people as Iceland.
Yeah.
So, they've been working on this for the last 10 years with the same manager, and they're trying to, get better than they are. And we've been stagnant.
We're kind of half starting now, like, we give Kenny the job. But then all the staff don't like each other and stuff like that, and they're like, it'll sort itself out. And
this is what annoys me is that people will say, like I was saying about the the Italian line to all that stuff. It's like, we're not a big country, we can't produce players. There's players playing GAA and rugby and everything else. That's just reality. We need to just play the style that suits our players. And then it's like when we lose to Luxembourg, it's like this arrogance, this kind of like, what, like, how are we losing to them? It's like, well, we're either shite or not. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
If you're gonna have a country that's gonna, try and get the best out of it they possibly can, versus us to say, look, let's just go over, have a few points, it'll all be grand, we'll do the best we can. It's like, well, other teams are gonna pass us out.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like that's just the reality of it. You can't have both ways where we're shite, we're always shite, and then be outraged and indignant that we lose to a team like Luxembourg. It's like, who the fuck do you think we are?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we've qualified for 2 of the last 10 tournaments.
We haven't been in a World Cup in 20 years.
Like Euro 2012, Euro 2016, and then World Cup 2002.
Yeah, that's it.
So like 2004, 2006, 2008, 2010, 2012, obviously, 2014, 2018, 2020. Like, none of them. And we're like, how do we lose to Luxembourg? It's like,
when we got the group, everyone was like, we'll beat Luxembourg. I'd say people in Luxembourg were like, we'll beat Ireland, definitely.
Well, they looked at us and they said, look at that lad there. His name is Kieran Clark. Give him the ball. And they probably just showed his fucking, maybe they showed a compilation of just Kieran Clark playing for Newcastle or Aston Villa. Because they let us, because we do that team now that all the Premier League teams will. You want the short kick out, you got a man. And they,
man.
So they pressed Coleman and Doherty, our 2 best players, and said, don't give them the ball.
Yeah.
Give it to I feel bad having more Kieran Clark, but like, Kieran Clark and Stevens were targeted in that wing, and Stevens was constantly isolated in that wing.
It's not his game plan. Like, it's not how he plays to just be like pulling the strings. Like, that's not what he does.
Yeah, he was trying to give the ball up to Daryl Knight, who was constantly being pressed. Like they had us, they did their homework on us.
Yeah.
We had we had done our homework on Serbia because they're the better team, and we thought we would just kind of do the same thing against Luxembourg. Like, well, they're not going to do anything. I suppose, look, they had us totally pinned in that corner, and they didn't create many chances. Like this thing, like we were obviously the 3 seed near the 4 seed. So again, if we were looking for an upset against Serbia as not beyond the realms of possibility, then why would them getting upsets against us be? It's the same thing, really.
Exactly, yeah.
But they didn't create like loads of chances. They weren't completely on top. The goal they scored was kind of a half chance more than anything. We had chances that we missed.
Yeah.
If we had Patrick Bamford playing for us,
there is no way after the last week Patrick Bamford is going to sign for Ireland. Could you imagine his phone ringing off the hook?
He did make a statement out beforehand saying that he didn't want to play because he would want to take the place of an Irish player, coming in at this age ever. But so he kind of ruled himself out, which fair enough. So I know it's kind of like a joke that we do in this podcast, the same Patrick Bamford, but like, we were, dying for a finisher up top to put away some of those chances.
I need something.
I do think if we had played Luxembourg first, perhaps, because
more up for it.
And a lot of those Irish players, like, they're not playing for their club.
Yeah.
So to play 2 big games in a short space of time, like, it takes a lot out of you. Yeah. And you're traveling from Serbia back to Dublin. Like, the legs seem to kind of go in that second half against Luxembourg. And maybe it's kind of that they're pressing and that the fear was like, oh, fuck, we're going to lose to Luxembourg. We're going to get killed for this.
Yeah.
But we did seem to kind of die in that second half, which is kind of...
But, like, a lot of those players are, like I said, they're not playing, but they're probably doing a lot of the travelling with, like, a lot of them are Prem players. Like Coleman and Doherty have played fucking a game every 2 days for the last year, pretty much. So to then be like, we need you to do more games, and also this is for a team that's much worse than the team you usually play for, so you're going to have to work twice as hard. Like, and
that's probably the thing as well, that like Coleman and Doherty are 2 best players, I would say, and in terms of experience and everything else. But like Coleman has found a bit of form for Everton recently. He's playing a bit more regularly, but he was kind of in and out at the start of the season. Doherty has kind of been dropped at that Arsenal, we talked about that Arsenal performance before, like that was kind of like, oh, his career's finished and all this. Like, he's not been in favour. So like, to play 2 games quickly, I don't think he's probably been used to that.
Yeah.
So, and that's our 2 most playing players. Like, Kieran Clark is not playing at Newcastle.
No, yeah.
And this is the thing as well, like, he dropped all the old guard a bit, which is something like, you don't think about, but like, we are kind of a team in transition a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Sure, half the team is, and like a lot of the players that were out injured that would have started, even they are like lads like Adam Ida and stuff like that. They're all so young as well. Like, they're teenagers. Like Obafemi as well. They're all really good players, but they're only like, they're babies.
Yeah. Whereas like against Qatar, then we played like, obviously everybody was bet, and you want to change it up a bit. You played obviously Coleman, but Duffy, Robbie Brady, Hendrick,
the classics, Long,
the heroes of 2016 of the Euros. And like, I'd say that kind of like jokingly, but like, that was when they were at their peak. That was when they were 25, 26. Like, they're now, I mean, Hendrick and Brady are 29. McLean as well, that's another one. Like, they're miles on the clock, they're 30 plus. Like, they're not going to be around for the next 2 tournaments. So like, you're trying to blood in the new players in a way, which you kind of think of like a team in transition. It's usually a good team in transition. Which again, qualifying for one of the 2 tournaments we qualified is a good team. So this kind of like entitlement and kind of arrogance we have, like, oh, well, we should be qualifying for every tournament. It's like, these were good players and they're kind of coming to the end. So like, they played all the game against Qatar and they started well. Was, it was like, this is why they're not playing anymore. Because their legs are gone. And
as well, I'd say that game being a friendly probably didn't help, because obviously you don't want to be losing or anything, but I'm sure in their minds they're like, at least this one doesn't really matter. Like, we can relax a bit. Like, the first friendly they've played all season, like, I'm sure that come into their mind, like, a bit. It should, like, I know it shouldn't really, but it has to a little small bit.
Well, I mean, the only thing you might say is that, like say McLean and Long and all those, Duffy as well, who didn't play against Luxembourg, and they played, like say, 19-year-old Darren Knight and Kieran Clark. I mean, he's the same age as them, but like, Duffy's playing so bad for Celtic that you don't get to play ahead of Kieran Clark. they have a point to prove. Yeah. And, against Qatar, it's like, that's a win-win.
Yeah.
You come on, you say, we still have something in the tank. We beat Qatar, who, aren't highly rated, we'll say. They went out, they started well. Like, it was a real training ground move, that McLean goal against Qatar.
Yeah.
Like, they switched it, and then he came around the side, knocked it in. But there was a chance we were 1-0 up, and then Long, this is what he does. He's very fast, like at 34 years of age, still, able to get in, read the ball, and get a chance on goal, and then not finish it. It's like that's 2-0. That's game over.
Yeah,
we've broken their spirit. We're going to win this game, our first win, and of course he doesn't. And you think this is why you didn't play the last few games, because as good as you are, as talented as you are, as athletic as you are, like, you need to score goals. We need someone who can finish, and he just doesn't offer that. Again, we had players like Duff and Keane, so that was like the benchmark. Whereas now someone like Troy Parr's like a striker who scores goals, and he's Irish.
He's not actually from Ireland.
He's not going to play for us for a bit, then play for England.
He's not allowed leave.
This Kenny ball, or whatever you want to call it, like, again, it's all about fucking Italia 90. It's like we either play, hoofball or like tiki-taka. It's like, look, lads, we're not Barcelona. It's like there's a huge, wide open space between, put them under pressure and, peak Barcelona. Like there's like, you think of someone like Leeds, the way they play.
Yeah.
Like, again, not trying to bring it back to Patrick Bamford, but like, it's exciting stuff. They do concede goals, sure, but they score goals. They create chances, and it's much more exciting to watch than, someone like, I guess, Stoke back in the day, or something like that, or Burnley. Like, Burnley will have every once in a while they'll beat a team 3-0, but for the most part, it's keep it tight, 4-4-2. We'll grind that result here. We'll finish maybe just above relegation. Like, if you want to qualify for something, you have to kind of go for it. Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, overall, I was waiting for a win against Qatar. I was like, if we get a win against Qatar, we can talk about that, and we can like kind of wrap it up. Like, you know what, we're not all bad.
We're all bad.
To draw like that, and it was kind of weird. It's kind of like the watching 3 iterations of Irish teams. You know what I mean? It was like not quite the ghost of Irish football, future, present, and past. Like the first one against Serbia was like, this is what we're trying to play. This is the kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, we'll score goals, we'll create chances. And if we had Darren Randolph in goal, that could have been 2-2.
Yeah.
The one against Luxembourg was kind of like, I don't know, I guess, is that the present of like, this is where we're really at. This is the reality of it, like, that we don't have good players and that the teams are catching up on us. But Serbia is maybe the future of like, we can get to there. This is where we should be aiming to do. And then the last game against Qatar was the past. It was like, these are the boys that we've used before that got us to a tournament. But the same was like, again, I keep going back to Italian 90, but like this kind of thing of like, oh, it was the way they played. That's how they competed. It's like they had a really good crop of players.
It didn't matter. They could have played a totally different way and still would have gotten the results. Like, they were a good team.
And had a good team for 10 years, and then that team got old and they faded away.
And a good manager as well. Like
when the Jack Charlton era ended, it wasn't like because they got outclassed or the style changed. It was like, no, those players got old. Paul McGrath got old. Like, and you didn't, and they were generational players. Like, you don't get players like that every country has a generation of players like that. Was an unbelievable, fortunate result of births at the same time that we had unbelievable players. Like, that's what it was. So, I mean, that the team that were like, we need to go back to the experienced players. Like, they were a good bunch of players, and they got to Euro 2016, along with likes of John O'Shea and Robbie Keane as well, other generational players. Like, that's what international football comes down to a lot of the time.
Do you think they'll give him the time though? I don't think they're going to give him the time. I think his days are numbered, and then it's just back to the drawing board again. Like, I'd rather just keep him, and the results are going to be bad either way. It doesn't matter who we have in, so we might as well just keep consistent. Like,
yeah, well, like I say, you referenced that the Luxembourg manager there was there for 10 years. Because it's kind of an acceptance of like, this is where we are.
Yeah,
we're not going to guess foreign manager is going to turn around overnight, because it's not like you're just there to kind of coach the team to the best that they can play. So you're kind of ruled by the players that you have. You can't buy in players or do much with it. So you know, it's hard to lay like Kenny's door, but also, like I say, it doesn't mean that if you sack Kenny, you have to go to Big Sam.
Yeah.
You know, 4-4-2, keep it tight.
I think they will, though. I think that's exactly what they do.
Like, you can go to another manager who also says, yeah, we definitely should play some passes. You know, definitely should play some progressive football. Like, there is definitely a step up from Kenny as well. I mean, he's a great manager. Again, I never watched much of the Dundalk games. I watched some in the Europa League this year, but like, you know, there's scope for, like, if we improve a little under Kenny, that might attract another manager, a bit more experienced manager who can add a bit more. It's not to say just get in a big name for a big name's sake, but like, if there's a manager that can add something else to it, add a different perspective, would you say, like, those young players that are coming through, that they improve a little bit over the next couple of years, and you have a real chance? You know, there's absolutely no reason you don't have to go back to hoofball or put them under pressure. Like, you can continue on with that. It doesn't necessarily have to be with Kenny, but I don't think you need to throw the baby out with the bathwater either. You know what I mean? Like, Kenny might be the man for the job long term, but you know, you'd like to see us kind of, like, say, that Serbia game. If we just talk about that Serbia game, if nothing that's happened, you'd be so enthused. Like, this is what, like, I would go watch that game. If that game was on Lansdowne Road, if we thought we were going to score 2 goals and a tight game and a lot of excitement, you'd go to that game. You wouldn't go to 1-0. You wouldn't go to losing against Luxembourg. So then you're kind of like, okay, well, is Kenny working? So it's hard to, it's hard to make a verdict on it, even though that's specifically why we waited to do all of it at once. But like,
I just can't see them having not the foresight, but I just can't see them being patient enough to keep him on board. I think they'll get him out, because it seems like some of the players might like him too much as well, like some of the old guard. And hopefully they don't go with them rather than the young lads, because that's, imagine being one of those young lads then who does like Kenny and who Kenny's given chances to, and then fucking, I don't know, Jeff Hendrick or something gets him kicked out. They're gonna be like, well, fuck this. Like, I don't want to play for this stupid team.
Well, like I say, if we had beaten Qatar, 2-0, 3-0, or something like a convincing win against Qatar with Shane Long on the score sheet, Jeff Hendrick, Boston midfield, like, Robbie Brady's another one who is probably I would say the most talented of that group, Coleman included. Like, he has the most ability, but I can't remember a time when he put 3 years together without being injured.
Yeah.
And, that summed up his career against Qatar. He played well against Luxembourg when he came on, Prince of Good Crosses. So he starts against Qatar, gets injured, goes off. It's like, your heart breaks for him, because you feel like you've never seen the best of Robbie Brady. You feel like it's like he's one of the biggest what-if players for Ireland and for his own career. It's like he has so much ability, so much talent, but like the injuries have just plagued his career. So, I mean, if we drew with we tried the old players, we had James McLean in, and McLean, it's funny, like, I think it was McLean's 80th cap.
Oh my.
Which I think, I might be wrong there. I think I heard a commentator say that, and I was like, fuck. Thinking back to like the public campaign we had to get McLean to actually play at all in Trapattoni. And that was based on a good 6 months, not even like a second half of the season for Sunderland. And he's had 80 caps off the back of it. It's like, that's how far the thing has fallen. But like, those players played against Qatar, they drew. So it's like, well, are they any better than the players we have? And they're not going to be here in the next 10 years, whereas the other players will. So, I mean, I don't see why you would say, all right, Kenny's out. This whole expansive football nonsense. Get rid of that. I think if it's not Kenny, that's one thing. But I think they'll persist with someone who's of the same, ideas of playing better football. And I don't think they'll sack him until they have some of that lined up, which is the important thing. Because if you sack him now and you go, all right, who's available? Big Sam, Alan Pardew, perhaps.
Oh my God, Mark Hughes is free.
That's the kind of thing. So, like, if they have, not, I was going to say Thomas Tuchel there for a second, but,
imagine.
But that's it. Like, someone like, I was trying to think of like the opposite of a Big Sam. Somebody like, but like, if someone like that came available in our price range.
Sorry.
Sorry ball. That's probably the way that they will go with it, I would say. If someone like that comes available and they can attract him and they'll have, private smoke-filled room meetings and they'll say, all right, you're coming in, that's when they'll get rid of Kenny. I don't think they'll sack him for the sake of it with nobody lined up, and we'll just revert back to, all right, just fucking have a go, lads, have a pint afterwards.
Hopefully, I don't understand the whole, it's so reactive instead of proactive, not doing anything with the League of Ireland. Like, there's a ready-made league. It's ready-made content for RTE or TV3, like, why not just put the effort in, broadcast it, get people watching it, get people going to games? All it does is bring money in, and it makes the clubs better, makes the players better, which they get money moves, brings more money in. It's just like, it's so lazy to just, we have a league, but like we don't show it on telly, or you never hear anyone talk about it. It's ridiculous. Like,
I suppose it's hard. Like it's hard to try and, you know, like you'd probably need to restructure the whole. Like if you're to start up a League of Ireland now, it's not how you would set it up.
Yeah.
Like it. So you have to try and, you know, revamp an entire league, like, you know, there's people who've been doing this all their life, like involved with clubs. Like you're going to say to them, right, we're moving your club to Athlone, or, you know, we're trying to get it more spread out around the country to get it more involved. Like it's hard to do that, like overnight. Like, so I mean, the way it's set up now,
I suppose it's just investment in the clubs is what's needed, I guess. Well, not even just showing the games, make an effort to show the games on telly, I think would just do the job. It'd be a start at least. Like, there's no reason there's like can't be a little thing on RT with fucking Giles or whoever the fuck is free doing analysis. Like,
they've done that a few times. They had the M&F on RT for a while. They showed League of Ireland games. I do think one of the biggest issues is it's very kind of Dublin centric. Like,
that's true. Yeah,
like there's plenty of people who don't have a League of Ireland team anywhere near them. You know what I mean? And that's, to bring it to comparison, obviously, is the GAA, right? The way that's set up, you have, you know, everybody has their own county team for one, but you all have your own club team in your own parish. Like there's a sense of connection to it. There's a sense of community to it. Whereas, like I say, if you're set up the League of Ireland, you'd set up like that. If you're set up scratch today, you wouldn't have it all in one place, and you have people who don't really feel a connection to us. Your soccer team, your local soccer team, is probably underfunded, you know, versus the GA team, which all the money is centralized, but it all goes back into clubs. Like it's much better run. Like, you know, I think that's probably the biggest issue. Like, obviously, if you had massive investment from one source, it would go a long, long way to making it competitive and more watchable. But that's probably not going to happen. You know, Sky aren't going to take it up. So, I mean, if you want to, you know, make incremental change like that, it's hard to kind of uproot people and say we're revamping the whole thing. We're like, should you have me fucking go mad over them changing my Champions League? You know, I have nothing to do with it. Like when you try and change things, people go, no, what? Like, leave it alone. Like, it works for me. You know, it doesn't work for other people, it works for me. So, like, you know, that's probably one of the biggest issues. It's not easy. And it takes a lot of money, a lot of investment, and a lot of, you know, and like I say, how many scandals have we had? The FAI, like the FAI, probably the least qualified organization to do that, and they're the ones in charge. So
at least it seems like this is kind of like with Delaney gone, and like, is it Quinn that's in charge of it now, or are you just trying to get in charge of it? But it seems like it's starting from scratch. It'll take a long time, but it seems like it's okay. Let's reset kind of the FAI, new people coming in, new manager for the Ireland team, things like that. So hopefully it's the beginning of a thing, and it's not just let's sack Kenny, get Mick McCarthy back in, also get John Delaney back in. He's free now. So hopefully that doesn't happen.
So I guess we're the World Cup hopes are probably over, I would say, before they even began in a way. But it
was a fun half an hour.
I was looking at the the Portugal game. They drew with Serbia, the game after us. When we were playing Luxembourg, they drew with Serbia. So it's kind of like, oh, hang on here, there might be a chance because they only got an own goal against Azerbaijan to win it. Portugal did.
Yeah,
with all the great players, and to me, it was kind of like this reminds me of the France 09 team, the disastrous France 09 team, where they had Patrice Evra and Henry, and plenty of talented players. And then obviously they beat us at the handball and all that controversy. But then they went to the World Cup and got 0 points, and there was the player revolt. That I'll never forget that clip of Patrice Evra laughing at the assistant manager being held back. That was like. You know what happened there? It's like Patrice Evra told a secret that he wasn't meant to tell. I told that confidence is out of it. Like, I was thinking, well, this maybe that's a bit of a stretch, but like, it was when Ronaldo stormed off.
Yeah,
he got if anybody didn't see it, he got a late equalizer against Serbia in the extra time. The ball crossed the line, but the linesman didn't see it. Ronaldo made a beeline towards him and started roaring in his face. And the ref said, whoa, hang on, man. Like, that's a yellow card. They draw that game, drop 2 points. Ronaldo fumes off, tears his armband off and fucks on the ground. Camera zooms in, very cinematic.
Yeah, it was great.
Zooms in on the captain's armband. So poetic, really. I was like, oh, these have to fall apart. They barely beat Azerbaijan. They've drawn to Serbia. And it's like, we could have a chance. And then the next game, Luxembourg go 1-0 up and I go, I knew it. I knew it. We're in this. And then they went on to win 3-1.
Yeah, quite easily.
Yeah, they have some pretty good players, pretty decent players. Ronaldo on the score sheet, of course. So, yeah, it's not looking good in the group. Portugal and Serbia on 7 points. Portugal have one better goal difference. That's what puts them ahead. Luxembourg on 3 points. Ireland on 0 points. Azerbaijan on 0 points. Yeah, we're not going to get through that. That's just confidently. I'm going to confidently say that we're not going to get through that.
I guarantee, an actual guarantee this time.
Yeah, I guarantee that even I can stand by. Get off the fence and say we're not going to qualify from the group. Which is it's disappointing. But again, it's like it was always long shots.
Yeah.
Like, to get a result against Serbia would have meant, beating them more than they beat us at home with an Irish crowd, which I think is an underrated factor in this.
Yeah, that's like our main thing. That's our whole shtick.
The boys in green weren't there. I mean, what can you do if there's nobody cheering you on?
Yeah.
So, but another player who's been ripping it up, a player that we could use, Alexander Mitrovic. 5 goals in 3 games for them. Has he scored 5 goals for Fulham this year?
He hasn't. I can confirm from having him for a few weeks in fantasy football. He's been utterly useless this year in the Prem.
It all comes back to fantasy, folks. That's our knowledge. That's our base knowledge. Fantasy football. I'll tell you what hasn't done fantasy football. Score goals.
He hasn't got 1 bonus point this season.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a Fulham fan, you're either very annoyed or getting a little bit hard looking at those goals. Because, I mean, that could be the key to them staying up, especially the way Kieran Clark was playing for us, for the Newcastle faithful.
Yeah, a mixed week for Fulham fans.
It depends if you're a glass half full or a half empty, I suppose, on the Mitrovic. Thinking, well, why isn't he done that all season? Or maybe he can bring that form into the remaining fixtures for Fulham.
I will say as well, it seemed at least this is like we're going to miss this World Cup.
Yeah.
But this is kind of a World Cup you don't really mind missing. Like, it's in Qatar. It's on in like December. Like, I think Norway are boycotting it. Like, there's teams not going because they don't want to. So
I don't know, man. World Cup plus Christmas points. I mean, vaccine pending. We'll see where we are. And like, you can't even take that for granted, which is how depressing it is. We can't even say we'll definitely be out of this. But like, any World Cup that you're not at, it just makes it a little bit, true. I mean, look, the only good thing is we will definitely have Turkey because they have been ripping it up.
Oh my God, did you see the Holland game? They were the best team I've ever seen in international football. Unbelievable.
And for any new listeners of the show, any old listeners of the show, we tend to forget to do this, but I mean, a segment we have on the show is called Bandwagon Wheel, where we support a random team from a country and we follow them for the year. We get in the bandwagon, as it is, and we spin a wheel. That's where we got the name from. The team we picked this year, or we picked Turkey, and we got Gostep. So we have a vested interest in Turkey because our captain, our leader, our legend, Halil Akbanar, got his first call-up at the ripe old age of 27 years of age.
Yeah. The miracle.
And, the long-awaited international call-up, it was brilliant. And he, was mentioned by Gostep on Twitter, and he was all the excitement. What Turkey do, which I think is just bad practice in any time, but particularly in COVID times, they call up a wider squad, not the 23. I think it was like 25 or 28, something like that. And then they picked the 23 for the day based, I guess, on the 1 or 2 days training. So Halil didn't actually make the squad for the Netherlands game.
How could they do that to us?
I didn't make the match squad, which I'm saying you're bringing extra players, extra COVID risks to not even play them. And I thought, like, it's so unfair because, like, if you're Akbanar, like, you've been called up to the squad, you're like, oh, I'm not in the team, yes, but I can't not tell people because it's going to be announced. So you got to ring your parents and your family and your loved ones, like, yeah, I'm on the Turkish squad. Well, hang on now. Hang on.
Man, please.
I'm on the squad, but the match day squad is yet to be announced. So I don't know if I will be playing. Oh, we'll be watching the game, Halil. We can't wait to see it. Well, I don't know. Stop. Please stop. So he got announced on that.
He's ringing us.
Yeah. Text messages on Instagram just to see. Maybe in the requested messages. So he did make the match day squad. I was tuning that game thinking, where's Halil? Is he on the bench maybe? And then no, he wasn't there. Did make the squad. They scored 4 goals against Netherlands. Netherlands looked kind of a bit iffy, to be honest. They didn't look great.
No, Van Dijk seems like that's a really big deal for teams. I think he's a really good player.
Your best player and captain, definitely a hindrance, I would say, for teams.
Yeah.
So yeah, Turkey won that, and then the next game he was on the match day squad, so he must have bucked up in training to get on that team. Maybe just give him a run. Again, he didn't get on until the 86th minute. So
Very
I'm
much
watching the game.
A time wasting sub.
I'm watching the game, waiting to see my boy, waiting to see Halil Akpenar go on. 86th minute, he comes on. He's very small. Which I like. I obviously, he when I watched him for the Gosep games, like maybe it's just international is obviously the best players in the country, so it's bigger, stronger players. But like, he never seen that small when someone played for Gosep. Like when he came on the sideline, like the assistant manager, the water boy, the match official, they were all like taller and bigger. And like this little man comes on.
He looked like what Timo Werner imagines he is in the league.
Exactly. Maybe he shrunk into the jersey. He's grown that just like he was like very, very, very small.
If someone get that child out of the way, I want to see Akpenar play it.
Oh, they're letting the mask get on instead of Akpenar. Get Akpenar on. If it wasn't for his glorious beard / ponytail, you know that I would know anywhere. I was like, oh no, he's not playing. But yeah, he came on for 4 minutes. Impossible to make an impression. But the worst thing is they were scoring goals, and that's his thing.
They don't need
goals. He gets assists. They're defensively. They have Sechenyu from Leicester, who is kind of broken into the Leicester team through injury.
Great player, yeah.
Well, I know a great player. I think he's
he's a great player.
He's decent.
He's really good.
And then you have the Turkish wall himself, Ozan Kabak.
So our second boy.
not the strongest defense. So they really, if Akpenar was as a taller defender, he might in that team. But I mean, in terms of attacking talent, they were banging the goals.
If he was a few inches taller and also defended instead of scored, Akpenar would probably get into the team.
Yeah. Well, look, if he was Pogba's size, we've said it before.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if he was Pogba's size? So yeah, Turkey are going great, which is in a way not great for Akpenar, who
we wanted them to flop if they're not playing Akpenar. We wanted them to be like, who could we possibly turn to?
Yeah, he played 4 games or 4 minutes, I should say, in 3 games, and they've been banging the goals and winning. They beat Norway 3-0, very convincing win over Norway. So the worst thing is his club form has dipped a bit too. So I mean, he's going to have an outrageous end to the season for Gosep to get into that Turkish side. I fear.
For the sake of our pod, we really need him to step it up, or that segment's in trouble.
Well, that segment might end the end of the season if he doesn't, because we were going to have like an extended international soiree into the fucking Euros, and again, when Ireland aren't playing, we need somebody to latch onto. Yeah. That was going to be our boys, but if Akpenar's not there, I don't have the same affinity for the Turks, I don't think.
Yeah. It's annoying too, because this is what Karaman wanted, the Gustet manager, it seems. He knew what he was doing, subbing him off before he got what he wanted. Right before they called up. Yeah. Right after he got called up, subbed him off halftime both games. I mean, come on. Yeah. So yeah, hopefully things get better for Halil Akpenar, but not looking good for him so far. But Turkey, fair play to them. They're going well. Yeah. The other, I suppose, point of interest, what was the one that you were saying, Will? England, there wasn't much to talk about. They played easy games. They fucking decimated San Marino. Yeah, I don't want to talk about them because they're really good. It's no fun. Bums me out, when they all get along, it seems. It's not like it used to be where you all hated each other. Yeah, that's the thing. Usually the hype train started and they'd be kind of falling out. They seem to be really clicking as a team and getting on great. Worrying
signs of the England camp, and that they might actually, finally figured it out. They found the perfect blend of manager in Gareth Southgate, who has no ego and no reputation. He just seems to be a really kind of good communicator, which is what they've always needed. Rashford, you're not playing, and this is why. And I think that's fair. He's like, you're right, Gareth, that is fair. Rather than I remember there's a story of Glenn Hoddle when he was manager at 98, and they were doing drills or passing drills with Beckham, and he pushed Beckham off the bus. No, like this, and then he arrowed it across. Do it like that. That's not what you want. You don't want the manager showing that he still has this. You want Gareth Southgate being like, look, I'm a humble man. Yeah, I was a good player. I played for England proudly. And this is what I think we should do. And guys, I'd really appreciate it. I think the country would appreciate it if you did your best and worked together on this.
Mason Mount, I'm lining you up with your best friend for the last 15 years, Declan Rice, because you're such good friends.
Yeah, and you know what? I think we've also become friends, and that's how I imagine.
Sancho, I'm sorry to say you're not starting this game. You've been a bit of a bold boy the last few months, a lot of partying, but that's okay. Don't worry, you'll get another chance. Everyone thinks you're great.
And you know what? I think you're great. I think you're a fantastic player, and you know what? I think you're one of my best friends.
Also, Sancho, I like your haircut. I think your boots are really cool.
I think everything about you just screams star, and you're an amazing player. And you know what? If not this time, the next time, that's when you get your chance. And believe me, you'll get your chance with me, Gareth Southgate.
And Jesse, my old friend Jesse Lingard. Wow, what can I say?
Honestly, God, he seems to have everybody on side. There's no kind of I don't know. Maybe it's that their expectations dropped a bit as well, but he seems to have them work like a well-oiled machine, which is really just they could do it. They could actually fucking do it.
That's not what we need. Are we falling into the trap? Does it happen to us as well and we don't realize it?
Well, that's secretly we're off the record. We're secretly just trying to add to the hype machines to get them to blow up.
Gareth Southgate is listening to this on his way to the next game, and he's like, "Yeah, they're right. I am the best."
Phase 2, we start some rumors. That's going to come later on in the month. Yeah, I don't know. The only thing I did see, the most controversial thing I did see from Southgate was he's getting a bit, maybe getting a bit confident himself. Where they were saying about Mason Mount, he's playing really well. It's like, yeah, I mean, I guess now that Tuchel thinks he's a good player, now he is a good player. Maybe when Frank said it and I said it, that didn't mean anything. But now when Tuchel says it, hey, but what do I know? What do I know? I'm just Gareth Southgate. Anyway, I was like, oh, all right, okay, all right. But that is the one thing. I mean, there's a lot to unpack with the Mason Mount stuff, to be honest. I mean, people just decided he wasn't good. And
he never did anything wrong, ever. He was always pretty good.
The most basic thing, I think, was he's an English midfielder. So therefore, if he's rated, he's overrated. Hyped equals overhyped.
I think Lampard is his hero as well. I think he had said that in an interview, and people probably latched on to that then. Yeah,
well, when people turned on Frank, they turned on his second in command.
Mini Frank.
Yeah. So there's those two things, but that English midfielders, we've seen that before. Jack Wilshere, Jermaine Genius, Ross Barkley, we could name them all day. You're just another one name. You're don't get me started on how great English midfielders are. Yeah. And then it was as well, it just became a meme on the whole Frank's thing. And then it doesn't matter if it's true, if it's funny. You know what I mean? It's when you start a rumor about someone kisses their man on the lips or something. It's it doesn't have to be true. If it's funny and it riles people up, it's just keep saying it. It's funny. You know what I mean? Mason Mount became just oh yeah, he's fucking useless. He's a spoofer. He was great for Derby. He was being great for Chelsea. He's 21. You know what I mean? But it just became way funnier to say, oh, he's crying because Frank Lampard got sacked. Ha ha ha.
What a nerd.
Yeah, oh, he loves Frank Lampard. He's gay for Frank Lampard. It's not true. It's it was that juvenile level of kind of come on. But yeah, he is a really good player for them, and him and Foden, and then you have Grealish at that. It's dangerous stuff for us.
And I was joking earlier, but him and Rice, and I think it's Rashford. No, it might not be right. Him, Rice, and I think Grealish are lifelong friends, really get on well. That's such a good thing to have in your camp. And then Rashford, Lingard, and Sancho are all really good friends as well. That's the opposite of what it used to be when Scholes, Gerrard, and Lampard were playing together, and they despised each other. Like they wouldn't sit with each other and stuff like that because they were so club first, everything else second.
Yeah, well, and a lot of that, obviously, you think of like the Ferguson and Ryan Giggs, where he convinced him not to play for Wales. The master manipulator. Like, you know, you can guarantee that he couldn't stop Scholes playing for England, but he was like, they don't rate you, pal.
Yeah.
Oh.
Gerrard's starting ahead of you.
I saw you on the wing there, Scholesy. You don't even play on the wing, do you? I don't think you have much pace for the wing, Scholesy. Like, you didn't know he was doing that. Like, you know, he was like trying to wind that shit up.
I don't want him playing another game for England.
well, that's the thing. There's been loads of injuries from this.
Lewandowski, a man we cursed, unfortunately.
Lewandowski
talked at length about. You never see Lewandowski get injured. We were like, yeah. And then literally a week later, out for a month. Not going to break the record in the Bundesliga.
I know. And that's the thing. That's why records stand, because it takes obviously insane ability, but like luck as well in terms of injuries.
Yeah.
But yeah, internationals are killer for injuries. So like if you were a club manager, but again, like Ferguson was there for years at that point and knew he would be there for years after if he wanted to. Whereas a lot of managers like Tuchel is probably thinking, I got maybe 4 years here at Chelsea to achieve something.
Yeah,
he doesn't care about voting. Like he said, look, I'm just going to cause more hassle by trying to convince Mount to not play for England or trying to get in his head about England. Like that's going to do worse for me. But Ferguson's thinking long term, thinking if I can get him out of England and playing for me, that'll be the money for me. So like I think the whole thing has changed with England and that whole kind of mindset of club first, because managers are more temporary than the players are.
Yeah, exactly. The players have tenure at the clubs rather than the managers do, where it used to be the other way.
Exactly. So yeah, it is. I'd like to say annoyingly falling pretty well for England. But I tell you, one injured Harry Kane.
Then we'll see.
Then we'll all see. Again, not to wish injury on anybody, even though he does cause injury to players all the time, but not wishing injury on Harry Kane. I didn't say that. You cannot say
we're not wishing injury on Harry Kane, although that's what he does when he does his actions. But that's besides.
Not only does he wish injury, he causes it. Moving on, and you can take that to the bank.
But like you were saying about it, internationals causing injuries and stuff. Could you imagine being the Bayern manager and now Champions League, like who's back up to Lewandowski at striker? Choupo-Moting, is he there still?
Oh
is he there on loan or
Choupo-Moting is there. Yeah, again, it's like, who do you have? When you have a player like Lewandowski, it's like, if you're a striker, why would
you don't need a backup?
Why would you go there? It's like Bayern interested. It's like, are they interested in me? Or they just want me to wash Lewandowski's boots? Like, I mean, I'm never like, you have to have confidence as a player. Like, even the most common player goes, well, I'm not as good as Lewandowski. I'm not gonna get him unless he gets injured, which again, you don't wish any player, and it rarely happens to him. So I mean, like you don't have back. I could be talking nonsense. I could have like the best young German striker behind him. I don't know.
Did you see who he was playing when he got injured?
No.
Andorra.
Oh.
You would be snapping. There's no they're winning that without him. They should be anyway.
Yeah. Well, so, that actually was part of it too. That they started the whole Nations League thing because players would get injured playing friendlies. Like money spinning, meaning not even money spinning because people aren't showing up to see Andorra. So it's like, why would I let my player go? And like again, the shorter that manager's tenures became, it's like my job relies on Lewandowski to score goals on me. Goals for me. He gets injured playing Andorra in a friendly. So that's why they got rid of all those friendlies, because players were just not going. They were like, oh, I'm actually injured, so I can't play.
Yeah.
Because, it's a friend, they're not going to play. So the whole international thing was dying a little bit. So, I think Saka got injured as well for Arsenal, which, again, they're 10, but it's huge. Like, and he got injured playing under 21. So, so you can see why, no, not under 21. It wasn't, well, I don't know, whatever the case was, but like, it's killer for managers to have your players injured international. So, that's a tough blow for Lewandowski trying to break that record, and possibly a tough blow for Bayern Munich.
Champions League is in trouble now, surely. I think he still has, if he's out for a month, so if he's out for the exact time he's supposed to be, I think he has 3 games to score 8 goals or 7 goals, something like that, which normally you'd be like, that's impossible. He could probably do that. I think he could definitely do that. But it depends how injured he is, like when he comes back.
Well, riddle be this. Are Bayern Munich are Poland in the Euros? I don't think so, are they?
I don't know, actually. Good question.
Because if you're Lewandowski now, like I know they say personal records don't matter, but at a certain point they do. When you've won the Champions League, you've won the league multiple times. Well, I suppose with 2 different clubs in Germany, like he's nothing left to prove in Germany. But I think he'd probably fancy that record.
Yeah, be the best player ever in the Bundesliga. Like,
so would he say, right, doctor, inject me with whatever because I want to fucking play the last 8 games to give myself a chance.
Right.
And if I'm fucked in the summer, because like I say, even the Champions League, it's like, he's won that already. I think the record is what he wants. It reminds everyone Messi got that record of 96 goals in the year. Like you could see he was playing differently that year. He was like, I actually want that one. Like that's a pretty cool one to have. And he was banging in goals and he was being more selfish than he usually was. You never know. I think he might be was he 32 now? This is a great chance. I don't think he'd get a better chance than this to break that record. So I think it'd be interesting to watch that, see what he does if he comes back early and is fucked for the rest of his career just to get this record. I guess they play Thomas Muller up front, could they?
Yeah, I suppose.
He's more of kind of a...
What age is he though as well? Like
31. He's younger than
is he?
Lewandowski.
What?
Yeah.
I thought he's around forever.
Well, he is. But he played since he's been like 20. He's been around for like 11 years, banging goals.
That's mental.
What else we have then? Well, I will say as well, this is, I hope this isn't the end of the pod. This is the end of something special. But, the last episode, I took exception with something you said. We're talking about Zlatan, and I'm just kind of leading. He was playing back for Sweden, didn't score, didn't do a lot. Maybe the years are finally showing on him. But I did feel, and again, it was just a feeling I didn't know, that you're kind of a bit harsh on him in his United career, his one United season. I thought, I think he did better now. I think you just. Oh. So I looked it up. I looked up the stats. I have them here. 28 Premier League games, 17 goals, 5 assists. I mean, not bad. Not bad. I mean, when we think of the, Falcao or Cavani this year, I mean, it's pretty solid. Let me finish. Let me finish. I got more stats. The Europa League, which he won that year, 11 games, 5 goals, 4 assists. So, that's pretty solid too.
He 3 of those goals are the worst hat-trick I've ever seen in my life, which was a deflected free kick, a penalty, and a deflection, which should have been an own goal against Saint Etienne, I believe.
Okay, well, I mean, they all count well. That's what I'll say about that.
They all count, but I do remember that specifically because I remember he did an interview after it, and he's like, "Who else is scoring hat tricks at my age?" It's like, well, you barely did. 2 of them weren't yours.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. He does kind of embellish it beyond the point of what he's actually doing. But I mean, he scored, a goal against Lugansk, 2 assists against Feyenoord. 2 against Rostov, 2 assists against Rostov.
Those are all poor teams, though. He has to be scoring.
But that's the Europa League. He can only play who in front of. He didn't qualify for Europa League. He came there and said, "Look, what do we have to play? All right, I'll play that and I'll score goals."
He was most impressive for me in the League Cup. He dragged us to that because I remember the goal he scored in the final. Yeah. He cleared the ball out from a corner that Southampton got, so he headed the ball away. And then he was up the other end of the pitch and scored as well. And that was after a long game of doing everything. So yeah, I'll give him that one. But most of the rest of it, fuck off.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's a bias here. EFL Cup, like you're saying, 5 games, 4 goals, 1 assist.
Yeah, he's great.
FA Cup, 1 game, 1 goal, totaling 46 games, 28 goals, and 10 assists. I mean, you might.
Oh, man, honestly, I'm biased, but honestly. Goals. I don't know. It doesn't tell the whole story. There's so many games he was awful in the league. He gets me riled up.
I like to say he comes out after the interview saying I'm the greatest player that's ever lived, besides maybe 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 players. That's it. Then there's me, standing alone. I know it's kind of a bit of bullshit in a way, but that's good stats. And like I say, it doesn't tell the whole story. 28 goals, 10 assists. I mean, a lot of players will never have that season. A lot of strikers play the entire, at that age. Now, your other Your other point was
another hot take.
Well, to be fair, I'll give this one. I disagree with that he had a bad season because he was decent for them, better than other players have been. But the other thing you did say, which was true, is that you were a particularly low scoring team. Now again,
we were awful.
You can't put the blame at.
No, that's not his fault. That was just how we played.
I'll just go through it here. I have the because they finished 6th that year as well, which is again for United, like that's never good.
No, and that was after buying Pogba and spending a lot of money. Like
everything else kind of comes secondary to that when you do finish that, because it's like, well, you're trying to just take positives from a year then, so it's not really,
exactly. Because like when we bought Pogba and Zlatan and that, the idea wasn't now we can get back into the Champions League. The idea was we have Jose, we're going to win the league this year. This is the plan. We're winning everything.
Yeah,
so that's why I think it's probably.
I think you bought wasn't Martial that summer as well, perhaps?
No, he was Van Gaal. We got Pogba. Who else was that? Was it Lindelof?
I think Mkhitaryan as well, maybe.
Mkhitaryan, that
was really good for Dortmund.
He was the Bundesliga Player of the Year. Yeah,
I remember. I think it was you who tweeted. It was like, I've had worse football manager transfer seasons than United have had this season. Like there was a lot of optimism going into that season. I think that's where it comes from. Like we could really compete. We really didn't.
We were awful in the league.
But you said they scored not many goals, and that is true. I mean, Chelsea won it. 85 goals, 33 conceded. Spurs 86, 26. I can't believe they fucking lost that year, to be honest. They scored more goals, conceded less, but that really spurs it up. I just read that again, like, holy fuck, they did. Man City came third, 80-39. Liverpool 78-42. Arsenal 77-44. And then United in 6th, 54-29. So a huge drop off. Like you're talking 80, 78, 77, 54.
We were brutal.
And then behind them, Everton finished behind them, they had scored 62 goals.
Yeah.
So you were correct in that they didn't score many goals. But then that also brings to the point of, like, you said that, he kind of scored the 3rd goal and 3-goal win. There wasn't many 3-goal wins.
That's true. Probably talking out my hoop for that.
So I think, I do kind of like that, but you had a expectation of competing, and you watch a lot more interviews than I did, which I think if I watched, I'd be like, oh, shut the fuck up, man. You're such a fucking...
Yeah, exactly.
With your ridiculous hair.
Like what? He scored 17 goals, but like you were saying, they scored 50 goals in the season.
Mm-hmm.
That's so many games where nobody scored.
Yeah.
He was given the same interview after. And you're like, oh, I'm sick of you. Don't talk to me.
Yeah.
And then it was the next 2 years, then it was kind of similar story with Lukaku.
Yeah.
Where he scored, he did well, but also he was shite for United. Like he scored lots, but was still like offering nothing in so many games, and was a hindrance a lot.
Do you want to hear a hot take I have? Now I've not taken this from anywhere else. You will not hear this anywhere else because it's that ridiculous. Is that Lukaku was obviously excellent at Everton, and he's at loan at West Brom as well. He was banging goals, but it was on the counter-attack. You know what I mean? Like that was, they would sit back, and he was so fast and so strong and a good finisher. And then we went to Chelsea, and back to Chelsea for being on loan. It was like, oh, he's useless. He can't. Jose doesn't like him. Jose's had fallen out. That's why he hasn't played. But he wasn't good at Chelsea. And then, like I say, went to Everton, play well there. It's like, oh, he's matured, and all these kind of cliches that you hear. And then went to United, and the same thing. When they have the ball, people are sitting back. Like he doesn't have great touch.
It's not his game.
He's not a great game. Haaland plays very big, very strong, a freak athlete, great finisher. But Dortmund play, really fast on the counter-attack. He goes to a Chelsea. He goes to Real Madrid.
He goes to City, maybe.
They're all sitting back in front of them. Does he have the touch required to play those quick passes and go around the corner and turn and bang it in? I haven't seen him do that. Is he the next Lukaku?
Oh, you could do worse.
Because, like, say, Lukaku is good at Inter Milan, but like the only game I watched, to be fair, and again, this is my experience. I watched the Milan derby, and the goals he scored was him bombing down the middle.
That's what he scored at United as well. Like,
yeah. Is Haaland similar to that? I haven't seen him do the kind of.
Well, I need to get you on the phone to Haaland's agent and let him know that if that's the case, then United is the team for Haaland. That's what we need.
Well, I shouldn't have. I shouldn't have said that, to be honest, because you're going to use that information next fancy season. And everybody have Haaland for City except for you and me. We'll have Mbappe.
Also for City.
Yeah. Yeah, fucking probably. So yeah, that's my international hot take. Plus that was a bonus. That was a bumper extravaganza international stat of the week there. Retro stat of the week for Zlatan. Not to come at you too hard, but I just felt, you know what? I think he's gonna be a bit off. I mean, you know what? I think probably you're probably mostly on.
Half.
Yeah, I'd say you missed one or two, but mostly you're probably in your assessments not as good as he probably likes to make out, which is always the case with Zlatan. Anything else, Will? Anything else we want to touch on?
Did you see Gareth Bale yesterday?
Oh, no honor.
He fucking smashed your man. That was racist to the Rangers player.
Did he? Yeah.
He came out like Wales were all wearing a like kick racism out football top. And then,
he was another team just like...
yeah. And then during the game, Bale went up for a header. Well... He went up for a header. He looked back, saw it was your man, and then jumped and went bang right into his nose. It was savage.
Good that the football community is finally kicking football out racism. They talk a lot of talk about kicking it out, but if they were finally elbowing it, two-footing it out of football, that would be great.
Elbow racism directly in the nose out of football.
Take racism out in the air.
Be a bit nasty to racism. Do the Harry Kane, duck your arse in and make racism land on its neck.
End racism's footballing career. We could come up with so many better slogans to kick it out, because the kick it out can be anything. It needs to be more specific. That's their problem.
Kick it out's not hard enough. That's the issue.
Because like you say, kick it out, it's kind of general, like, oh yeah, whatever, I'm still going to be racist. And then, but if you say...
really have a go at racist players.
You say rake down the back of the legs of racism. You go, whoa, what was that?
This is doable.
Aim for the cruciate of racism. You're like, whoa, wait, what are we doing with racism? Then you're thinking twice about ruptured players. Shouts on racism. They go, end the career of racism through the cruciate. You're like, oh, fuck, that's a credible threat.
Pinch racism.
Well, now we're taking a step back. I'm like, I can do a pinch. So yeah, that was our coverage of the international break. It's definitely more fun when you watch the games and you try and care about it.
Yeah, we're not watching Brighton versus Burnley and stuff.
Yeah, like usually it's like international break. I don't care. I don't watch. I don't care about anything. I'm like, oh, bring back the Premier League.
Hurry up.
But that was fun. That was a fun podcast. It was, it's funny because this podcast was started in the spirit of feeling something again, of caring about something again. And that international, it definitely made me feel something. It was pain and sorrow and despair, but I definitely felt something. It's definitely more fun when you have skin in the game, for sure. And Ireland is the most skin you can have, because it's a universal thing. Like, we're all in this. This is literally my country, my team, so I can support this wholeheartedly.
But you know what? I feel the same way about Turkey now as well.
Yeah, well, I'm more of a Akbanar fan than a Turkey fan. If Halil doesn't go, I don't give a fuck about Turkey.
You're like, you have a fucking Akbanar picture on Twitter, like all the Pogba people.
At Akbanar Goat.
Putting up Turkish league stats about frauds.
Yeah, well, the only thing is, it did make me look forward to the Euros. Like, the Euros is going to be fun. Even if all the games are played in England and there's, hooligans out, anti-vax hooligans on the streets fucking ahead of each other, it'd definitely be fun.
God, imagine them winning it in England.
Oh yeah, well that's always in the back of your mind, like, oh fuck, they could win it. Fuck, they're really good, really well organized.
That is the last thing the world needs, on top of the vaccine thing, that they also win the Euros. Oh my God. That's too much. After Brexit as well. Oh no.
Yeah. So on that depressing note, that Ireland are still bad, England are actually going to be good, and the vaccines are a long time away. We'll talk to you next week.
No, honestly, that is nonsense. Nonsense. All nonsense. But listen, I've been on that road before.
nonsense. Talking nonsense. Why should we accept somebody talking nonsense? Like, what would you say? Just why are you talking nonsense about us? Why are you talking rubbish?